Hello, welcome back to yet another Nflementop 100. We are doing 41 to 50 today. We have reached the peak of the hill. We are descending down towards the magical destination of the top 10, which we are all pretty excited for, I can imagine. Joining me today are the wonderful threesome.
Lovely.
My stomach.
I will never say that again. I was going to say the Three Musketeers, and then my mind just went threesome.
Three, some.
Yes, so we will be dealing with 41 to 50. If you haven't seen any of the previous episodes of our show, please do check them out. They're on our YouTube channel. Make sure you check out the introductory video so you understand all the rules and guidelines. If you like the video, like, comment, subscribe, share with your family and friends, all that good stuff. Let's go right down into it. Lovely. So the typical admin that we always seem to have to do, sorting out which players have gone where. So looking through the official NFL Top 100, there are a couple players we've already spoken about. So Deshaun Watson, who was at 50, we've already spoken about him. Darius Slay, we've already spoken about him. Ryan Shazier, make sure you tune into our first episode to understand our reasoning behind Ryan Shazier, if you haven't done already. And then finally, Devontae Adams. Then there is... I see Harrison Smith at 46, and I know we're trying to stick to what the top 100 was, but for me, he's too good for here.
I can't believe it.
Yeah,
it's one of those like when the list came out, and you think, really?
Yeah,
already?
Yeah, like thinking, what's he done wrong?
Who wasn't voting for him?
Yeah,
like
sure.
The man didn't make the Pro Bowl. Well, I mean, he did as like an alternate or whatever.
Derek Carr made the Pro Bowl. Derek Carr made the Pro Bowl.
Yeah.
Harrison Smith didn't.
And, it wasn't even in the discussion for Defensive Player of the Year when he definitively should have been criminally underrated. So I would like to propose that we hold the brakes on him and let him go a little bit higher.
I'd agree with you there.
I'm also anticipating our future episodes. I've had a bit of a look up, and there are a couple players from about the 20 position downwards that I'm thinking probably don't belong there and should instead be around here. So ironically enough, 3 wide receivers. I'll walk through them. AJ Green, very good player. I think it's 7 of the last 8 years he's finished with 1,000 yards.
Because he's Cincinnati's only wide receiver.
Yeah, and he's kind of their only offensive output. They have Joe Mixon now, who hopefully can show up and do something. But it didn't really have a...
who had possibly the worst rookie year of anyone ever.
John Ross was officially voted. I don't know if you two remember. It was one of our early episodes, the biggest disappointment of...
didn't we decide the first round class of wide receivers?
Rookie wide receivers. They're all atrocious. But I mean, like, he's good. He does deserve to be on this top 100. Just doesn't deserve... I think he's at 22 or
something like that.
He's high, he's really
which is a little bit too high. Then slightly lower, Adam Thielen and Tyreek Hill. Similarly, both very good players. Both, they'd be an instant upgrade to many a wide receiving core. But do they belong? I don't know where they are. Tyreek Hill's at 40.
36, I believe.
Thielens 36, yeah.
The thing
I
is,
feel like that's just a little bit too high for
I can understand why Thielen has been put up there, because actually, throughout the season, people were saying, like, wow, like, something has happened, and he's really kind of taking his opportunities. Yeah. But at the same time, when you think about all the other receivers going on in the league,
he's good. He was very
good,
much.
But
he's a route runner, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's not the kind of person who
steps up.
It's actually quite interesting. Him and Tyreek are both very opposites in that respect. So Adam Thielen won a great route and will be found by Keenum or Cousins next year, and that will be a 17-yard gain, and then he'll get tackled. Whereas Tyreek might, I don't know if you remember the kind of Hail Mary screen pass they threw to Tyreek
Dallas.
Hill.
He just might blow anything up.
That was insane.
And his return game as well.
Yeah, warrants him being kind of up in this discussion. But I feel like they're around that level, if you guys are happy with that.
Yes,
sure.
yeah.
Cool. Right, that's all the admin done. So let's get started. The number 41 on the official list is Keenan Allen. I'm pretty happy with that.
Yeah.
Yes, I think when you decide to pull back the receivers you just mentioned to obviously now behind Keenan Allen, I think that makes much more sense.
Yeah, like we compared them. If we compared each of those guys to Keenan Allen, I'm leaning towards Keenan Allen.
Yeah,
Every time, yeah.
I think the thing for Allen is this year he stayed healthy. Rivers found his target, and
It was
Allen
an
had
amazing
three
streak he went on,
consecutive
Three
games,
consecutive games, 10 receptions, 100 receiving yards, and
and a touchdown. I mean, come on.
His release off the line is something else as well.
Yeah.
Like, people don't get hands on him.
Yeah.
And he's not like he's imposing or he looks like he's got flat out speed, but when he
slippery,
releases, like no one can get a hand on
He
him.
was first in the NFL on third down receptions.
Do you know who he reminds me of, actually? He reminds me, with that element of his game, is Chad Johnson, Ocho Cinco. And no one, his feet are so fast, his release is so good, no one can get near him. But yeah, Keenan Allen there.
I feel like they've unlocked something within him.
He was also the comeback player of the year.
And deserved that.
Some pretty serious health scares, didn't he?
Wasn't ranked last year, up to 41 this year. I think that's more than fair enough.
He's a good player. Very good player.
Then at number 42, Earl Thomas.
A guy that I feel like kind of dropped off any discussion because people forgot that there was a member of the Legion of Boom that still was healthy.
And the thing for me is, you look at this 10, as you've already mentioned, Harrison Smith. I think Earl Thomas is the second best safety in the league.
Yeah.
Behind Harrison Smith.
Yeah, I'd agree with you.
So.
But then I think Earl Thomas, not Harrison Smith. Earl Thomas, because of the history, gets kind of put in that position because it's Earl Thomas. But he has made some great plays, and I think
for sure. Like,
he was the one kind of redeeming factor of the secondary for the Seahawks this year when Sherman went down.
Shaquille Griffin, the rookie, he played really well.
Yeah, but I think having Earl Thomas there, if they can keep him for now, he's still in Seattle, isn't he? But
there's talk about him going to Dallas, isn't there?
When they played Dallas last year or something, he went into the tunnel and said to Garrett, supposedly, "I want to be here next year," which obviously isn't very good when you're actually still playing for your team. But
real talks about, so Dallas had the 50th pick in the draft, didn't they? And Dallas were willing to trade a third for Earl Thomas, and Seattle wanted that second pick, and Dallas weren't budging. So that was how close they were to trading him.
Yeah, I mean,
he's worth a lot more than a third or a second.
Yeah, for sure. Like, the value of the pick versus the value of the player, it all looks great before the pick's made, but as soon as the pick's made, you're like, oh god, would I rather have this random person or would I rather have Earl Thomas?
Exactly.
That's not. Earl Thomas in this bracket seems fine to me.
Yeah, I think, great player. Not at all past his prime, still kind of thriving. Next up on the list is Mark Ingram, which for me, it's...
I think
I don't know.
What a season he's had, though. I mean, like, compared to other seasons where he's been all right, but not...
He's been consistently solid for his whole career.
Yeah.
Coming in, because he won a Heisman and then was drafted, and... He's been very solid the whole time, but this has been what you'd call his breakout, right?
And I think that's helped by Kamara. I think it's just
we haven't mentioned Kamara yet, but I think he'll crop up quite soon.
I think Kamara unlocked something for Ingram, and they've now found it's a bit different to the way the Falcons do it, because Freeman is definitely their number one, and Coleman's definitely number two.
Coleman's more of a speed back kind of thing.
The Saints have figured out a way that they can keep it unpredictable because they're two very different kinds of runners. Yeah. But Ingram is definitely the number two for me out of those two.
Yeah. And if you think as well, like, Ingram's been there a while and their running game hasn't been this good. That's not to diminish what he did, but it kind of suggests that
it was Kamara who added a bit of spice to the pot. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I know Colin doesn't like power backs, and I'm not sure that Mark Ingram is just a power back.
No, he's got more to his game.
He's a bit more.
But he is still that sort of every down back, whereas I think that can, unless you are someone really special or new to the league, that can kind of take it out of you if the running game is just on you. Yeah. And so I think that this season he's
good, but then I look at someone like Cameron Hayward, the end for the Steelers, who first team All-Pro, more than 10 sacks, more than 15 tackles for loss, and 3 passes defended. That's, I mean, like, this top 100 list is obviously voted by the players. That first team All-Pro badge that he wears isn't something to be taken lightly.
Yeah, for sure.
And he did perform this year, and especially when he works in a 3-4 system. So your primary pass rushers are more kind of the TJ Watt, and I can't remember who plays opposite him, but the fact that he got that many sacks and tackles for loss from essentially a slightly wider D-tackle position is really worthy of a mention. And would I take him over Ingram? Yeah, I think I would, to be honest.
I probably would as well, because I have, as will become clear, I have a tendency to value the D-line.
other thing too is obviously Ingram will be suspended for 4 games.
Yes.
will.
And that gives us a great opportunity to see what Kamara can do without Ingram, and therefore Ingram's true utility
offense,
to the Saints moving forward.
There are... We obviously haven't mentioned someone like Fletcher Cox yet. And as much as I want him to be higher, I look ahead at the players that we still have yet to come, and I feel like maybe this is his natural resting ground. It would still be quite a significant move up for him. He was at 69, and now we're talking about him in that 40 bracket. I think he's better than that. I think that was demonstrated by the Panthers-Philadelphia game, where he'd been injured the weeks before, and their pass rush hadn't quite been the same, and he came back, and all of a sudden Cam was getting sacked left, right, and centre. And when you're sacking Cam, you know you're doing something right.
Mm-hmm.
He's a monster. And I think his impact was kind of lessened this year because the Philadelphia Eagles as a whole played very, very well. Individual players, but lots of them.
Yeah.
And so Cox's spotlight kind of went away a little. But I think 69, no. You're right. We definitely were right to kind of shove him up this way.
Yeah. And not, would I put him... Would you have Fletcher Cox or Cameron Hayward? Kind of D-line on D-line.
Cox, to be honest. But then I think... The Steelers are a weird thing because the Steelers are sometimes a bit like the Patriots in the sense that guys kind of fit into what they do and it works really, really well. So, and plus they play 2 slightly different roles.
Yeah, I think I'd go Fletcher Cox though, just in terms of the impact he has on that D-line.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of 6 and 2 threes for me. I'd be comfortable with.
Would you have Cox over Keenan Allen?
No, not after this season. I think Keenan Allen has kind of shown himself to be a
Keenan Allen's
top receiver.
What about Earl Thomas?
What, in this position so far?
Would you have Cox or Thomas?
Earl Thomas because the
Thomas.
experience and success.
Yeah, probably Thomas.
I mean, viewers with this show will know that big time I like Cox, but shout out to
God. What episode were we doing?
That was
I think that was a pre-me episode.
That was the NFLementary Narwhals, wasn't it?
We were forming our
shout out to that amazing team.
Yeah.
Right.
I think the direct quote was I love Cox, actually.
Big time I love Cox.
Yeah. He does.
I do. Fletcher Cox, great player.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
I'm thinking,
this is the thing as well. Obviously, we're getting to the point now where, obviously, with top 100, these are all really good players. But there is obviously one player who we haven't mentioned yet. And a player that wasn't even in the top 110.
Yep.
I mean,
that's even more damning.
That insulted me, and I'm not even a Kansas City fan. I'm not even a San Francisco fan. Spoiler. Yeah, Alex Smith.
Yep.
Has to. I don't know how. I don't get it. I'll never get it. How a guy who can have a career year and has taken his team to 2 division titles back-to-back years. Is it 5 or 6 straight playoff berths? I don't care what happened in the playoffs. It's insane.
It is, and he is criminally underrated. He has been criminally underrated. He is disrespected on the regular.
Yeah.
I think the team that let him go disrespected him.
Yeah.
For what he's done for them, and the fact that he wasn't in the top 100 is farcical.
Yeah.
The fact that leaving that aside, the fact that he's not in the top 110, that's a joke. That is an absolute joke.
I mean, and worse than that is who was put above him. Like people like Deshaun Watson, like Jimmy G,
who
on the NFL top 100. Those people were put above him, and they haven't played a full season.
Collectively haven't played a full season.
Yeah, Alex Smith, for some reason, I've watched a few bits and pieces, interviews with Alex Smith, and for some reason, his personality must just attract criticism. Yeah. Because I can't think of, apart from a few, playoff wobbles, but he's not the first one to struggle in the playoffs.
Not at all. Andy Reid is his coach.
So what more could he do?
I think, I was reading something a few weeks ago, and I think it was saying how this stigma has followed him since San Francisco. This whole he's a game manager and that's it.
I think that came from the fact that he lost his job to Kaepernick, who obviously doesn't have a job at the moment. But Kaepernick was
get a job.
Well, we won't get into that. But Kaepernick was such an exciting player. That very kind of like, look at me, look at all I can do. And when you put Alex Smith up against him, Alex Smith has always been quite a mobile quarterback and has quite successfully run quite a lot of kind of run plus options and things like that. You never go out and call him a scrambling quarterback at all, but he can move. And in this Jay Gruden offense, hopefully we'll see that continue. But he's not the kind of just sit there static, dot it for 5 yards.
I think there's a feeling of, because he went 1 in the draft and Rodgers went in the 20s, and Rodgers has gone on to be Aaron Rodgers. There's this feeling that Alex Smith is a failure because, I mean, to say that, it was pretty predictable that Aaron Rodgers was going to be good. It's not that good because the discussion was he won or was Smith won. Yeah. And because Smith was drafted before Rodgers, there's this kind of perception that he's a failure because he's not Aaron Rodgers. Yeah. Now, if you offered most teams, if you offered the Cleveland Browns Alex Smith for the last 10 years, they would snap your hand off. Yeah. Like, come on now. Like, what's he got to do? He was solid in San Francisco after a ropey start. He then loses his job and gets traded. He goes to the Chiefs and just does a great job. And the players don't even vote him into the top 100. Come on now.
It's almost like in both teams, they found Kaepernick. Oh, now we want that. You can go along. And then Kansas City found Mahomes and had already decided Mahomes was the guy next year, even though Smith then knew his career in Kansas City was on the line, puts up career numbers, and it's still not good enough.
Bold prediction. Alex Smith has a better season than Patrick Mahomes and Kirk Cousins.
I hope so.
Not really combined, because I'm taking
Alex Smith threw for 9,000 yards.
Now we have to limit that a little bit because obviously Cousins is going to be playing with
an amazing Minnesota team. Yeah.
But let's compare the QB stats down the line and see who comes out on top. Because I personally feel like the Redskins have got an upgrade. And I rate Cousins as well. But if you offered me one or the other, I know I'd be taking Alex Smith.
Yeah. Would you take him over Mark Ingram? I definitively
would. Alex Smith, yes.
Yeah, I would.
Yes.
What about Fletcher Cox and Cameron Hayward? No. I think that's where it starts to be a bit...
I think he's probably middle of the road in this group.
Yeah, he's probably the
But I'd take him over someone like Ingram because consistency, which is something Ingram doesn't provide.
AJ Green or Mark Ingram then? And, well, first let's deal with the receivers. So AJ Green, Tyreek Hill, Adam Thielen. What order would you put them in?
That order. And the reason I'd go with that order is AJ Green has the history of performing. He's a giant man. I'd then follow it with Tyreek Hill because of he's a pure playmaker and his return game value is massive. And then it'd be Thielen.
All very good receivers.
Yeah. All really good receivers.
Would you take Ingram over all three of them?
No.
Would you take AJ Green over Ingram?
Yes.
So it would be AJ Green, Ingram, Tyreek Hill, Adam Thielen.
I'm pushing towards Hill over Ingram.
For the special teams offering, I would maybe say
over Thielen,
and Ingram probably over Thielen, but Hill's value in the return game is pretty big.
Yeah, and then the only name we haven't addressed then is David DeCastro, the guard for the Steelers. And we're having a bit of chat about kind of O-line value. So we've obviously gone through quite a lot of O-men already. O-men? Is that O-linemen?
O-linemen.
We've gone through quite a lot already, and there's not really very many ahead of us. And it's O-line. The O-line is so important.
It's like
O-line men. Yeah, it's kind of a different. So something like the Cowboys O-line. I think Tyron Smith will be dealing with next episode. We've obviously gone through Zach Martin. Zach Martin for me is one of the best O-linemen in the league, and he was 71 in the initial one. They don't necessarily get the respect that their position deserves, but equally, there are players like AJ Green that I would find it difficult to put David DeCastro over because
of
the difference between a great O-lineman and a good O-lineman isn't as big as the difference between a great wide receiver and a good wide receiver, I would say.
And this is someone who values the O-line massively. Yeah. But there is a bit of like, it's hard to kind of rank them.
It's super important, but it's
they
not.
have to work together. I think rating different offensive lines is easier. And for example, Eagles are
to kind of hark back to NFL history as well. Like, there's so much evidence of cast-off O-line players creating a great unit. So 80s, early 90s, the Redskins had a group of O-linemen known as the Hogs, who were basically cast-offs that no one wanted, and became a great O-line.
Excuse me.
Thank you. And that's something that's been done on a number of occasions. So that's not, again, it's very much not devaluing. It's valuing the unit as a whole.
Yeah, rather than
the individual player is a bit like.
So in light of that, I'd probably plop DeCastro at 50. Yep. Keep him in this bracket. He is an amazing presence on your O-line, but players like Thielen, Hill, Green, Ingram probably just kind of add something more.
Yeah, and we're doing this as fans first, right?
Yeah.
As much as it can be kind of cool to watch an O-line play, how much are you gonna
get excitement out of it?
Yeah, and this shouldn't be disparaging, because the O-line is the most important thing, and if you can draft or get a hold of a good O-line unit, you're set.
And ultimately, DeCastro has been consistent throughout his whole career, so you give him the respect I guess he warrants.
Yeah. Right, there you go. There's our 41 to 50. I'll go through them for you. So at 41, we've got Keenan Allen. 42, Earl Thomas. 43, Fletcher, big time I like, Cox. 44, Cameron Hayward, not Casey Hayward. 45, The Shock, Alex Smith. 46, Mr. AJ Green. 47,
That's interesting.
Tyreek the Freak. 48, Mark Inyagram. 49.
I'm glad you ended with an M. I'm so glad you ended with an M. That would have been awful.
49, Adam Thielen and up. And number 50, David DeCastro Oil. That's it for this episode, isn't it? Yeah, we've ranked. Thank you very much for listening. Make sure you tune in with the next 4 episodes we've got coming up, where we will be, like I said, descending that hill all the way down to number 1. If you've missed any of our previous episodes, they're on the channel. Catch them on the channel. Give them a watch, especially one where we explain our rules if you haven't seen that one. Like, comment, subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Share with your friends and family. I say that all the time, but please do. It makes a massive difference. Really helps us. Thank you very, 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 very much for watching. All the best. See you later.